can kill me, but you will never destroy me. It takes strength to resist the dark side.
Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one.
Are you kidding? Why the hell should I wait for you?
I know what it's like to try and rebuild a life. I had a bad day too, once.
If you're having nightmares, then welcome to the club. My name's Subaru Natsuki, and I am the Knight of Amelia.
Right now, all I can give you is just death.
It wasn't for you in particular.
You fought 100 men because it's not in your nature to run away.
If you are feeling disheartened, that you are somehow not enough, set your heart ablaze.
And we are back for another week of memes, of news, of random stuff, of some indie comics discussion and all that, which is kind of what I wanted to talk about for the first segment after, doing the usual weekly recap of what have you watched, what have you read. And sorry, I'm still a little bit behind on getting the banner set up and all that. Well, my usual thing of, what have I watched this week? Pretty much just kept up with Konosuba, which I freaking love that series. Just otherwise, absolutely fun. Delicious in Dungeon. Okay. Sorry. What else? Oh, Kaiju number 8. There's another one. So again, I've been watching a lot of stuff pretty lightly. I haven't been keeping up too heavily with a lot of the anime stuff. However, I did do a lot of reading this week. I have kept up with the manga stuff because it was a slow week at work, and there were times where I could just get away with doing whatever. There was dead time on the job, so I actually got to catch up with Ruri Dragon was one, which is a sort of like slice of life thing that you can find on Shonen Jump's manga apps. And so there was that. There was Way of the House Husband. I read a couple volumes of that. Trying to read through Kaiju number 8 so that I'm ahead of where the anime leaves off, or where the anime is going to leave off, because it seems like we are going to go all the way to the very end of like volume 8, from what I understand. Because there's a couple of big battles up ahead that are going to be really freaking good if they decide to treat them properly. So there's that. What else? Oh, Dandadan. I've been reading Dandadan. I finally got my volume 7, which I just love the colors of these covers. They're always fantastic. I always love them. I love the artwork. Oh, geez. Dandadan is an absolutely freaking fantastic series, and I am looking forward to that getting a proper adaptation later in the year. I'm just hoping they treat it well, because it absolutely deserves the best of adaptations. So I got that, and another thing that I've been trying to get my hands on for a very, very long time. Finally, volume number 1 for So I'm a Spider. So I have the entire collection, and I know you can't really tell from this distance, but all of these books over here, actually it'd be more like right here, these white ones here, that is the other 15 volumes of this series, and this is one of my favorite isekais. One that I absolutely adore, and highly recommend reading the novels rather than watching the anime, because the anime is atrocious at times. It has some of the laziest animation I think I have ever seen from an anime studio, from a Japanese studio. Sorry, that was weird. I got like a hair in my mouth out of nowhere. That was a little gross, but whatever. So yeah, that's a lot of what I've read. I also read some more like indie stuff. So one of the things I did want to cover was I've mentioned the guy on my streams before, Kapoki. He does a free manga over on Global Comics called Black Noblesse. I don't know why I fucking blanked on it. I finally sat down and finished the whole thing, and I liked it actually. It's and I guess we'll just sort of like roll into the like live reviews I was gonna do um for like the indie segment of the night. Um and this would that would be the first one. Kapoki's Black Noblesse. Why do I keep blanking on that name? So I guess one of the things I will say is for an indie project, for someone doing it all on their own and just doing it for free, I will say it is pretty good. It's not perfect. My major critiques are some of the action sequences because of art or because of the artwork. Um aren't like the most fantastic, I guess you could say. Um and it may be a little bit unfair to like compare them to like a professional manga or a professionally made manga versus like an indie project where someone is doing it entirely for free, but I will try and pull something up here. So like here's a splash page from Down to Dawn. This will probably be the easiest thing to see. So you can kind of see all of the you can see how motion is portrayed and how positioning and the angle and all of that plays into the way pages are like the scene is perceived. Some motion, some like high speed action sequences in Black Noblesse do come off as a little bit clunky. They come off as well a little amateurish, which I don't want to say that is like a completely negative thing. It's just like how it feels as compared to everything else I have read. Still, though, it is a free manga, and the story and artwork are generally, like overall, pretty good. I did enjoy reading that series. I like the character design, the artwork, and the story. My big complaint about the motion feeling off or like action sequences maybe not being drawn in the best way possible, because that's like the only thing that really stood out as a negative to me visually. But to move on to the other component of it, the story aspect of Black Noblesse. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it is the most amazing thing out there, but for something that only has 6 chapters so far, it's kind of hard to judge where characters are going to go and how well they're developed. God, is it Nalia? The main character. Obviously gets the most attention, the most work. Like I like her as a main character. There have been some with like manga and stuff, and I can pull one up right here. A main character who I actually don't really care much for. Kaiju number 8. Kafka Hibino is an annoying person to me. He is someone who I wish would grow a spine and stop being a fucking oaf all the time. He drives me crazy with how he behaves in this story. I do not get that from Nalia. I think that's her name. I would have to double check. Um, because as a character, she comes off as way more sympathetic. She comes off as way more like upright, like self-made kind of, even though technically in the story she's someone who was adopted into the family. Either way, um, her character is actually pretty well written, going from riches to rags and then on to riches again. Fairly fairly good writing, but still kind of shows like the roughness of a new author or someone who's just starting out writing. So if I had to give Black Noblesse a score on everything that I experienced reading it, I'd probably say it gets a healthy 7.5. That's what I would give it. It's enjoyable. It's good. I do recommend it, especially because it is a free thing you can find over on Global Comics. Um, but there's a little bit of roughness and stuff to it that will hopefully be sorted out over time as that story continues. Do we have any? I need to put on some like background music because just sitting here talking. Turn this way down. Let's play this. There we go. StreamYards for the frickin'. Anyway, that was one of like the little guys, the little things that I wanted to talk about. One that I do really hope a lot of people will like go check out. That's why I keep mentioning it over and over again because I do like the series. I think it is worth your time and mine. Um, Other thing I wanted to talk about was one that's a little bit more professional, one that's not a first time through, and one that you actually will have to pay for. And that, of course, is the subject of like a shitload of controversy that has taken up my uh, Twitter feed. My I'm going to call it Twitter. Oh, God. Either way, it has been the source of quite the tiff on Twitter, and I've tried to avoid getting involved in it the best I can, but I have failed a bit. I tried generally not to take sides in that beef, in the ongoing dispute between Comicsgate and Rippaverse. But when it comes to this comic, there was a lot of stuff that I actually had to say, and some of the criticisms were generally, or were actually founded. Like you have, there are three like major gripes I do have about this book, and but other stuff like it's an SJW book. I didn't see that, or Yaira is this awful person. Everyone involved in like all the Rippaverse characters are these awful, unlikable people. I think this book actually did a lot to make characters much more likable, especially Yaira and Brian Solari from the Alpha Core. And I will quickly get into this. As far as Yaira goes, they do a lot to sort of explain her origins. She is extraterrestrial and seemingly immortal. She's been around since, I don't know, like the 1100s. So that kind of explains a lot about her, which they really heavy-handedly hinted at, not in like the most like subtle way. They just kind of like straight up told you, you know, she's way older than she looks. Thanks for that. But they did actually explain like how she came to Earth, or not how, but when she came to Earth, like why she's kind of here. She's looking for another of her kind who happens to be called Neptune and actually is, you know, the mythological god of the sea. Anyway, as far as the story of the book goes, I think it does a really good job of developing its characters, of like moving along certain aspects of the universe, particularly with the Alpha Core. So One of the things I did like about Alpha Core was it was kind of a return to like street level heroism that I like. One of the reasons why I picked up 2 more Batman trades recently. So I got Hush this week and Under the Red Hood. Happy with that. I got to read those now. And what it did in this is there's actually a scene where Brian Solari, the big like powerhouse of the Alpha Core, gives a criminal a second chance to like atone for all their actions. And this is some punk chick who was like involved in a gang in a heist gone wrong, and it got her mixed up with a bunch of different characters, which is, you know, the whole center plot point of this book. So at the end, this girl, Stefania, gets a chance to sort of like turn her life around. Brian Solari offers her a chance to use her powers for law enforcement under the supervision of the Alpha Core, which I thought was a really nice touch on his character, like giving someone, instead of just like sending her straight off to prison because she was involved in some stuff, he actually gave her the opportunity to repent, something that she had shown willingness to do multiple times throughout the book. As far as Yaira goes, you get a little bit more explanation of her character and like why she doesn't care much about a lot of people, but really cares about certain demographics. And that would be because, well, she really only cares about protecting her own family and descendants. Remember, she's actually freaking ancient. So when she first arrived on Earth, there was someone she fell in love with, had a family with, but none of them inherited her immortality, her longevity. And that was a huge source of pain for her. So it kind of explains why she's so jaded towards humanity and kind of explains why she is the way she is. Although I think my gripes with this will kind of come into play in a bit on that. As far as the writing goes, generally I thought it was a pretty good story. I did like that it was focused on more wholesome elements like second chances and on family matters and all of that. I thought it was pretty good. I didn't think the SJW criticisms of it held up. I didn't think these are awful, evil people criticisms fully held up either. Although there is one instance in here, and there is one instance in the book. One of my first and like bigger complaints about Alpha Core is there's a scene in here where Yaira causes a prison riot in order to try and get Stefania back from the Alpha Core. Which at the time, Stefania had not joined the Alpha Core. She was still kind of skeptical on who to trust. There's a scene where one of the prisoners, who we can assume is probably who is probably a pretty violent person, and who is probably super powered as well, considering the state of everything that's going on around them, comes up behind Yaira and starts making creepy comments about thanking her body for breaking him out of there. And she just punches the dude in the jaw, and you can kind of assume from the art that the dude's fucking dead, because that's a lot of blood coming from your head to not be dead. One of the things that a lot of people raised was like, this makes Yaira like a SJW feminist, the likes of Captain Marvel. I think there's a little bit of difference there, but I do understand, like, genuinely the criticism of that scene specifically. There isn't enough context there to really infer exactly what's going on. I feel like the Saska sisters could have done way better in setting that scene up, especially if they wanted to make Yaira more justified in that situation. I feel like there would need to be more context to that. However, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. If your goal was instead to make Yaira someone who isn't like completely good, like she has her very obvious flaws and like very incorrect judgments on what justice is, or she just doesn't care about justice and really only cares about saving her descendants, well, then I guess I can understand it from that angle. I'd be interested to know more. Either way, I think that scene probably needed a little bit more justification for her actions than anything. Now, the next gripe I have is actually, I think, earlier in the comic. Is there's a scene where Yaira's in like a nursing home picking someone up who also happens to be one of her descendants. And she then teleports to her own private residence, which we can probably assume that they traveled, but the fact that it's done so instantaneously with no notation of their change of location, not a particularly amazing transition of scenes. That one is another one that probably could have used a little bit more work. Probably would have been nice to, note that they were traveling to a new location rather than just going there. It leads to some confusion. I don't see it as a huge negative, but it definitely is one thing that could have just been avoided altogether. It didn't need to be that way. And then the final thing that like really stood out to me in a not so good way was like right at the end of the story, Yaira finds a sword that she left up on a volcano thousands of years or hundreds of years ago, and it's perfectly fine. And she just like it saves her pretty much in a fight. And I'm not opposed to like something like that happening. It's just it feels kind of forced right at the end. And those really are my big three gripes. But as far as storytelling, as far as the characters involved with it go, I enjoyed it. I actually thought it was a really good book. And I went into this expecting not to like it, not to be very impressed, because I couldn't have cared less about the character of Yaira going into this. I don't think ISOM did a good job of debuting that character, and I don't think that Alpha Core did a good job of expanding on her either. This book, however, I think the Saska sisters did pretty good with. And that's all I've got to say on the indie front. And that's my that is my I support indie creators grift for the night. And I will move on into some of the anime stuff, the more interesting topics, and we'll start light. I got some like trailers and stuff to go over, but I like to start my shows with like talking about indie projects and stuff, giving someone else a little bit of a spotlight. So what should we go with? You know what? There was actually a Twitter thing that I did want to bring up. So if I go to all bookmarks, what the fuck? Who is? Oh. Okay. Sorry, sidetracked. We will close. Oops. Out, and we're gonna pull this up from oops, where is my cursor? Share screen. from Chibi Reviews, a much bigger anime channel. But he pointed this out, these fucking plushes. And I do enjoy the like goofy little anime plushes. Sorry, distracted again. There we go. But this one happens to be Freerin, and I've been wanting to get a couple of these like plushies from Freerin for a while to just stick up in the corner behind the ladder here, where I've got my Pachita, I've got a Rem like a big Rem plushie from ReZero, Chisato, Darkness from Konosuba. I've got a sputter stress ball up there. All the stupid little like fun little merch things that I like to collect. Let's remove that from the stage. So yeah, that is just the one thing, like Freerin getting eaten by a mimic. I love that so much. Just like the fucking stupid stuff. But yeah, what? You know what? Since it's just me, I guess I will bring up some of the trailers because I know that, generally speaking, these are things that I'm directly interested in. And if the other guy shows up, then he won't really know what half of this stuff is because these are things that I watch. So I got the official, like, trailer, I guess, like the first preview of Oshinoko season 2, and I think this looked great. Like, as far as character designs go, I always love Akasaka's character designs. His storytelling too, but basically the plot of Oshinoko is well, it's a deep dive into the dark, awful recesses of the entertainment industry. It talks about how people are like abused and used and how like drama is manipulated and all that stuff. It can be a pretty... Sorry, just adjusting my camera here. Trying to get more of this. You know what? I'm going to take the banner down because it cuts into the indie sport. And we can't have that. Everyone needs to support indie creators. So yeah, Oshinoko is basically the story of like two twins who get into the entertainment industry. One's an actor, the other is like a pop singer / idol, and they're both approaching their careers from different angles and for very different reasons. And I don't want to say any much more than that because you got to watch that pilot episode. Just do it. It is, I think, an hour and 20 minutes long, but it is worth it. It is an hour and 15 of stuff or an hour and 10, I guess, of stuff that will make you question what you're watching. And then like 10 minutes of, oh shit, this may just be one of the greatest things ever. And there's a lot of setup to get to the point, is what I will say. But yeah, Oshinoko will be coming out July 3rd, from what I'm reading here. If I'm reading this correctly. It says Oshinoko Season 2, July 3rd. Yeah. The 7th month, the 3rd day, July. Yeah. So there was that. I personally really like Oshinoko. I do really recommend it. It's like one of the few things that High Dive actually has on their catalog that I genuinely think is a must watch, particularly because I'm a fan of Aka Akasaka, and this is the twisted sister of Love is War. Why am I blanking on everything tonight? Absolutely fucking like just for no reason. Sorry, I don't know if my mic was picking up me taking a swig or if it was entirely unnecessary to mute my mic, but I figured that no one was going to want to sit there and listen to me slurping out a water bottle. So, moving on to the next trailer. Probably one of my favorite anime of all time. Zero, starting life in a new world. Trying to explain what this is to literally anyone is always a fun thing because on the surface it looks like one of the like dumbest like fluffiest series because of like the character designs look like overly friendly and cute and like non-hostile and all of that, and then you get into like Tape Nagatsuki's storytelling and it's fucked up. It's just straight up fucked up. So yeah, I am going to pull that back up, and I am very excited that this is going to be coming out soon. That this is going to be coming out this year. Obviously, that character design does not look like I described it. I forgot that Sirius was in here. But you start going into other characters. And then you get to like stuff like this and everything looks all happy-go-lucky and fine. Oh, I didn't hear the intro the first time. That's actually... Like, the character designs in this do not look like they would belong in some, like, ridiculously dark, grim, misery porn kind of anime. Like... But if you have not watched or read anything ReZero, you wouldn't understand just how much this series is pain. Like, again, half these character designs, like Betty and Amelia, they don't look like you would expect from one of the, like, most gruesome anime out there. Focusing on all of the female characters who don't do much in this arc. That's another thing is like people who have not read this don't understand where this is going to go. They're going to see this and it's going to be like all politics and like all character interactions and like sorting out like who has beef with who and like why everyone is at odds, and then shit's just going to explode. Oh yeah, the fucking musical lolly. Get through this trailer. And one of the biggest pieces of shit in anime. Hold on, I gotta go back to that. One of the biggest pieces of shit in anime. Regulus Corneus. Like, genuinely, like, fuck this guy. this season is going to be very satisfying just because he's present in this part of the story. And yeah, I should really fucking shut up, but I am absolutely excited because I have waited for years for this to come out. This was one of the very first anime I ever watched. Like within like the first like 5 or 6 anime I ever watched, I had gone over this. I had seen this one. I absolutely love it. I adore it, and I have waited for. Oh, when did season 2 come out? Because season 2 was coming out while I was watching it. That's a good question. Zero season 2 release date. Okay, so it came out in 2020, about a year after I like really started watching, a year and a half or so about after I really started watching anime a lot. Yeah, and I have waited for 4 fucking years for this series to continue. I read the novels instead of, just straight up waiting, but I have been really, really hoping for this to get more anime. And the fact that they're going to be starting with a 90-minute pilot episode, that makes me happy. I love the long intros, honestly, and this one I think is going to need it because there's going to be a lot of stuff that you're going to have to like get through at the beginning of this season in order to really get to the meat of the next arc of the Watergate City. So yeah, there's that. I believe they're actually doing like a full-on like theatrical showing like in theaters for that first episode in LA as like its official world premiere, so to speak. I have one more trailer for a series called How to Be Normal. And the reason I bring this one up is because it is written by one of the guys who I really like for writing the series Hyoka, or the Classic Literature Club, which is like a chill detective fiction sort of thing. Hold on. I am in the middle of checking something here. Got some random notifications and all that, and one of these is kind of important. Okay. I think I got that taken care of. I think we're good to go. Okay. So yeah, this is by the creator of Hyoka, another one of my if you're into like the more chill slice of life kind of stuff, I do recommend it. I think it's pretty good at taking like normal everyday things and turning them into like entertaining mysteries to solve. But yeah, this is the author's next project. And this might be
いちごタルト。
really. Character design looks quite a bit like Hyoka. At least if you ask me. Oh, do they not have the closed captions for English? Seriously?
知恵働きはやめない。
Fuck.
テスト中に掃除道具入れの中で花瓶が割れた。誰かがそうなるように仕掛けた。
小鳩くん、結局推理しちゃってたね。
いや、違うんだ。
What's the point in that?
自転車見つかったって、これきっと踏んだの。
I was hoping this version of the trailer would actually have some like English titles and stuff. But no. I guess I'm just screwed on that front. Oh well. I will close all of those tabs out because, well, I don't have anything to do with it. Either way, I don't have anything. Don't have anything else to say on that. I guess I will. What would you know about that? I guess I'll move into some of the other random things that I have to pull up for the night. So last week I talked about how Gavin McInnes is a retard for calling all people who watch anime PDF files. Well, we have like an official like not news broadcast. We have an official like example of the effects of anime on people. Nihongo ga dekimasu ka? Anyway, enough clowning around. A man in Taiwan says he was inspired by Frieren after helping stop a potentially deadly knife attack. Himmel would do the same. This was an actual thing, and I confirmed with a guy who lives in Taiwan that this was a huge incident, and this guy put a stop to it because he was inspired by by Himmel from Frieren. Apparently, also the saying "What would Himmel do?" has become like a huge issue. So we're gonna share this tab instead. So here's the actual story. A Taiwanese otaku is credited with helping stop a knife attack on the metro in Taichung City. Referred to as the long hair guy, the individual is one of 17 Good Samaritans credited with helping prevent or preserve life during the attack. The attack fell on the 10th anniversary of a similar attack on the Taipei metro in 2014. When receiving the award, he reportedly said that if he were the hero Himmel, he would have done the same. Himmel the hero is a character in the popular anime Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, yeah. And basically, Himmel's known for helping a lot of people. He's just one of those dudes who just... I can stop sharing. Great anime, and like it just brings up the point. Like a lot of people will try to like throw shade at the fucking otaku and the weirdos, people like me, but then you get these guys who go out of their way to just like say, yeah, anime inspired me to put my life on the line, or anime inspired me to get in shape because I wanted to look like Guts. Wholesome, fun anime news. In maybe some other form of anime news, this is also one of the things that like I kind of understand why people think the anime community is weird. So I talked about it a little bit earlier, Oshinoko. But a Japanese man was arrested for assaulting his coworker over Oshinoko spoilers. Well, the charges have officially been dropped. I just love the comments in here. Just assaults coworker for spoilers, gets charged for assault, charges get dropped. Legend. Given they only prosecute people if they absolutely think they can convict, there are 99.9% conviction rate is no joke. Chances are it turned out to be a false accusation or something. Interesting. Either way, I think it's the whole fucking hilarious story that the point of which I would say if someone is going to spoil a series for you, it is not only your right but your duty to beat the fuck out of it. In Minecraft. But yes, this is the power. Back to like what I was saying about the whole Himmel thing. That is the power of good storytelling. It's one of the things I feel like is missing from a lot of current media. Is it just doesn't have anything that really like inspires positive things. Again, one of the reasons I liked a lot of what happened in Yaira was the fact that Brian Solari gives a someone who was on a bad track in life a second chance and an opportunity to sort of correct all those things. I think they did that character really well. And like with the anime Frieren, there's a lot of good things. It's a very wholesome anime. There is like you can't really point to anything as being like negative or wrong about it. Like the whole theme of it is you should learn to appreciate the little things in life because the ordinary things are the ones that you'll look back on the most. Close that out. Yeah. And I like as far as modern media goes, yeah. I mean, look, there are some series that are kind of like that. And pardon if this technically counts as a spoiler, but like this one, the subject of a lot of controversy when it comes to this topic. Because a lot of interesting things happen. But you got to keep in mind that when it comes to Attack on Titan, there is a specific theme that goes with it and a specific viewpoint that I think the author was addressing it from that a lot of people I feel overlook. Either way, like with the Acolyte and stuff that has come out recently, what are you supposed to take from that? Like, the Jedi were actually evil, incompetent jerkasses who shouldn't be trusted, and I feel like why is it necessary to go that far? To destroy characters and like make everything like, well, it's all relative. Like the very idea of relative morality is bullshit. You want to argue with me that there is no such thing as objective right and wrong? Well, and then you kind of have to argue that nothing at all is true in the world. Jedi brutality. I fucking love that. Jedi brutality. Sorry, I just got a bunch of notifications. for comments and stuff on Twitter. Okay. That aside, like, I cannot watch, like, I can't even hate watch any of the modern stuff anymore because it's just all the same comments that I'm going to be making over and over and over again. Like, there's no, like, it's destruction of good characters, it's destruction of good storytelling. And if you really want to sit there and hate watch it, and that's the thing you kind of enjoy, like you like making fun of bad media, fine. I'm not gonna like hate on you for it. Like, I still enjoy watching Friday Night Tights and stuff like that because I think the people there are funny. But I don't want to spend my time knowingly watching something I'm going to hate. I can't do that anymore, especially not after Avatar: The Last Airbender. That show was abysmally bad. It was such a poorly written, awful pile of crap show that I don't want to get into another series knowing that I'm going to hate it, knowing that I'm just torturing myself for views. That's boring to me. Anyway, what shall we go to next? Keep that up. I guess this is kind of in line with what I was talking about. Good segue. Well, not a good segue, but like shifting into a similar topic is the idea of taking some of like the classic works of literature and turning them into manga. So Kadokawa has launched a new manga line named Kadokawa Masterpiece Comics, which will adapt worldwide literary classics into manga. The initial lineup includes adaptations of The Great Gatsby, The Alchemist, The Silent Meow, Legends of Tono, and Lipstick on an After Image. Which is interesting to me because I wonder how much like they're actually going to get into this and how many different things they're going to adapt. I think it's funny that they're going to be doing this. And as a like curiosity, all right, I respect it. It's something different. I mean, they're already working on like their history manga, getting like popular like mangaka to like draw stories about like Winston Churchill or Cleopatra. And it could be it could turn out to be something fun. However, who knows how this is going to go over. But my thoughts on it are like, well, what if they get to the point, like, say this is a huge success, and they start taking, like, I don't know, say Lord of the Rings or the Chronicles of Narnia, and start making those. Because those may not be classics in the same sense as, like, say, The Great Gatsby or The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. They're still very popular and very long-lasting series. I'm just curious to see where this is going to go and if it's going to like draw like new attention to some of these older works and how faithful an adaptation these are going to be. It's an interesting move, especially alongside the adaptations of like proper historical stories that they're going to be doing. So could be fun, could be something that's actually like properly interesting. And it remains to be seen. I guess I'm just gonna move on into like the big topics for tonight because it's been about an hour now, and Rolo still ain't here. So whatever he's doing, he hasn't notified me. And I'm just going to move on. I sent him the invite. I don't know if he ever responded and said that he couldn't do anything. But hey, it is what it is. I'm kind of stuck on my own right now, so we're going to move on into the topic that like kind of inspired the title of the stream tonight, like the whole like a crisis for anime issue, and that is the actual industry itself being something that not a lot of people are happy with. And this is a topic that I've actually touched on before. So just for a second here. One of the things about anime that has been a huge issue, and this like a couple, is the overwork issue. In a couple months, maybe almost a year ago, one of the big blow up incidents in anime was the fact that Mappa was having a really, really hard time with their PR because of their mismanaged resources and overworked staff. And now a lot of people wanted to hone in on Mappa and like beat them over the head because of the stuff that was going on then, but this is a consistent thing that is a problem with the industry. It wasn't just Mappa that was a problem. It was like it's the entire industry. So basically what happened with Mappa, if you're unfamiliar, is that they were getting their episodes of Jujutsu Kaisen done maybe hours before they were supposed to air. One episode actually aired partially unfinished. That was episode 18, I believe. That was when Sukuna used his final attack against Mahoraga. And you can kind of tell that some of the framework is rough and all of that. They ended up fixing that up for the Blu-ray edition. They like did the full like proper treatment for it, but I mean, it's just brutal. Like the description of some of these working hours. And what got Mappa into even hotter water was the rumor that started circulating that they were using NDAs to force people to be silent. And around the time that rumor started circulating, everyone who was speaking out from within Mappa shut up. Now, supposedly Mappa acquired a new like arm of their company that was all about like helping employees get the proper like rest and health care that they needed in order to like, you know, not want to neck rope themselves. But we just don't know exactly what happened with that situation. It just kind of went silent and it fell off the radar. It doesn't mean that the problem's gone though. I've been saying this for a while that Mappa's not the only studio, because before it was Mappa, it was Madhouse. And when Madhouse collapsed, a lot of those people went over and they started Mappa. So now we have this this video from NHK World, Japan. And I will bring myself out of solo mode. And we will play this video that talks about like a lot of the overwork and stuff in anime.
Has captured the hearts of Japanese fans and a growing worldwide audience. In May, Japanese animation powerhouse Studio Ghibli won yet another award.
Yeah, man, Ghibli is still a really good animation studio. They fucking kill it with everything, with just about everything they do. We do not talk about, I believe it's Earwig and the Witch.
The Cannes Film Festival's honorary Palme d'Or. And in the heart of Tokyo, the Shibuya Tsutaya bookstore was renovated to become an anime hub.
Is that Windbreaker Chainsaw Man?
Even boasting a lounge dedicated to the Pokemon card game.
Over the last few years, it's become a lot more mainstream, which is good because we love anime.
But on the other side of the screen, it's a different story. Today, we're looking at the challenges facing anime artists and how some are hoping to overcome them.
So I actually have seen some talk about this, about the striking and the unionizing. I think that's going to do more damage. Because, I mean, look what happened with fucking Hollywood when they started doing all that shit. Things just got worse for them. It didn't really work out very well now, did it? And this isn't, I'm not saying that because I don't want, people to organize themselves and get better conditions. Honestly, I would rather have an anime industry that produces less but treats their employees properly and does quality work than just constantly get this pipeline of anime production out there. And they kind of go into that, talking about how competition is fueling part of this overwork.
Welcome to Newsline in Depth. I'm Yanaka Marie. Anime continues to entertain, inspire, and introduce the world to Japanese culture. But recently, the industry has struggled to find and, more importantly, retain new talent. Joining us now is John Ledoux. He's been covering developments in the anime industry. So John, lots of people want to work in anime, but only a handful of them manage to turn it into a career. What's stopping them?
Well, it's poor pay, brutal hours, and too much competition. The working conditions are so poor that it's breaking young dreamers. And even if you become, you make it to the upper echelons of the industry, it's not as financially rewarding as one would think. I met a young animator who's still in it, thanks to a helping hand and a roof over her head.
Right. Let's take a look.
So I think one of the things I do want to point out is I was doing some research for a video that just isn't going to get made now that I know that this is a thing. That this video is out here, but one of the statistics I found was that after, I think it was 8 years, there was a 60% turnover rate. People who just permanently left the industry. That's how bad the conditions are in this specific industry. And they were consistently underpaid, ridiculously underpaid, which this we'll get into in a bit here.
Some of the identities of the animators have been concealed in a way that might be unique to the industry.
For the past 2 years, 21-year-old Genga has been working as a freelance animator. Her goal? Get a full-time job at one of Japan's anime studios.
I've loved drawing since I was a little girl.
To make that dream a reality, she's been living in this anime dorm. Young animators can live here for under $200 a month, utilities included. Even so, she says she's had to cut back on groceries to make ends meet, like the other animators.
Okay, if your rent is $200, utilities included, and you're still having to cut back, that's kind of like what they're talking about with the terrible pay.
My friends buy bean sprouts because it's the cheapest thing in the store. They can't afford anything else. I know a lot of animators whose bodies can't cope with this lifestyle. They're forced to quit.
Sugawara Jun is the man behind the dorms. He's spent decades in the anime industry working as a CG animator. Over the past 10 years, Sugawara managed to open 5 of these dorms.
Again, this shouldn't be necessary for an industry to survive. You shouldn't have to yeah, right? $200 rent. My rent is cheap living with my parents, and that's even cheaper than what I pay. Fucking hell. If I tried to go find a place somewhere nearby, like within 40 minutes, I'd be paying 3 to 4 times the amount for a place to live. It's fucking nuts. But yeah, it's...
He chooses talented animators like Genga, gives them a place to live, and teaches them the tricks of the trade.
Oh wow, so yeah, that's another one of the things that people complained about is these industry keep hiring people who don't have like all the proper training like to do the work, and it makes everyone who's on like the upper end have to work harder to fix all the fuck ups that these untrained people are responsible for. So this guy actually like providing a place for them to live and helping train them, that's quite a bit of input on the industry itself.
すごく難しかったです。パース感が難しくって、菅原さんが 3D で組んでくださったので、なんとかなったものの、難しかった。
これ飛行機の機内なんですけど、やっぱそれの奥行きがバーって長くあって、手前に乗客が座ってるみたいな状態なんで、結構作画だと描くのが大変らしいんですよ。
Sugawara has trained young animators like Genga for over a decade in the dorms. Dozens of them made it big in the industry.
The biggest problem is that there's no system to help new animators get the skills they need to survive in the industry.
25-year-old Kimura Toshiki is Genga's senior in the dorms.
So yeah, that was another thing, like I was saying, is the untrained part. One of the things that like Mappa complained about a lot was that they would hire a bunch of talent to come in and like fill in roles so they had the extra bodies. However, that would mean that there were a lot of people who didn't quite have the proper skills, which is one of the problems that this guy is addressing here. Good on him. And it would help. And the problem with that is it would create a lot of extra work for the people at the top. And I mean, it just added to the overwork of all of the more talented people. Kind of sad reality of it is that like I love this stuff, but knowing the conditions in the industry, it's kind of fucked up.
Senior members like Kimura teach Genga and other new residents.
I need to remember that this needs to come down when I'm...
He gained from his older dorm mates.
When I see the anime my seniors in the dorm create, it motivates me to create an animation that kids can't stop talking about.
So there's still quite a bit of like passion for it. That's another thing that I've been hearing quite a bit about. People are like still consistently like wanting to be a part of this. It's just that they're literally getting forced out of it because it is so unhealthy for a human to work like this that they have to leave for their own health. It's not something they're willing to die for.
The dorm holds regular parties like these, so the residents can have some much-needed sustenance and a chance to vent.
They make you do the most complicated stuff for the least money.
イメージ自分で交渉するみたいな値段、なんか自分でなんか単価の交渉するイメージがあるんですけど、全然そんなことないですね。あ、そうなんだ。
But it's not all negative. Kimura says these get-togethers also remind him why he became an animator.
I realize how much I appreciate this time with you guys. I don't get to talk about anime with my colleagues at work. Being here
again, back to like the point of people want to be a part of it, but they're just getting forced out by the fact that they're gonna kill themselves if they keep well, I said the bad word shit. It's over an hour in. We should be fine. People like they're not willing to give up their life for the job, so they have to leave.
It really motivates me to become a great animator.
It's great to connect over the things we love.
Fans are also pitching in. Sugawara says crowdfunding helps subsidize the dorm, with much of the support coming from abroad.
Hey, so there are things like that where because this was one of the things that I saw a lot of people talking about back when the Mappa situation was really going down. Was like, is there some way like you can crowdfund some support for people who are in the industry? Because anime fans tend to really like the animators, minus the fucking crazies who harass and send threats to people. But like we understand that these people are responsible for creating the things we like. We do want them to like be properly paid. We're not out here trying to stiff a bunch of people over, work that they did. So it's nice to see that this is a thing.
Really stepped up. We now get more money from people in America than we do from Japan.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of a rising thing in the anime industry, is that the Western market is actually bigger than the domestic market due to its surge in popularity over here.
He hopes to expand the program to get more young animators into the industry.
I never imagined that the people making the magic happen in a billion-dollar industry could be subject to such poor working conditions.
I know.
Well, I'm glad Sugawara is trying to make things better for the young animators.
Yes, exactly. But actually, helping young animators isn't his only motivation. Sugawara wanted to make a cultural hub of sorts. He was inspired by a similar communal residence for manga artists in the 1950s. Many prolific manga authors got their start there, including Tezuka Osamu, who became famous for his manga Astro Boy, and Fujiko Fujio, who, of course, is the author of...
Oh, Doraemon!
Yep.
It'll be exciting to see what legendary anime will come out of this storm. But I was also surprised by the lack of training the animators seem to get elsewhere. Is this an industry-wide phenomenon?
Unfortunately, it is. Experts say there's a limited number of mentors in the industry. One major production company, Bandai Namco Filmworks, is aware of the problem and is addressing it.
Would have been nice to hear someone say, like, the worst of the worst, the one who got the flack, fucking Mappa, was addressing something, addressing their overworked staff. And like, that's the thing, is Mappa is a studio that just sucks everything up. Like, they will literally just like do whatever it takes to get properties because they want the merchandising, that they want the company to do well, and they will abuse the shit out of their employees to make it all happen.
The studio set up a training program for aspiring animators worldwide. Young artists apply by submitting their work. If they're accepted, they're put through
I mean, I wasn't going to comment on it, but yes, it is a thing.
a year of intense...
It's kind of funny, I get it.
Paid for their time.
Wow, they get paid to learn.
They sure do. That way, they don't have to get a part-time job and can just focus on honing their skills.
I believe he's some kind of investigative journalist.
From the program last year. She's already working on one of their flagship shows.
That was quick. They put her straight to work.
Yeah, they...
That looked like...
on this anime...
I was about to say, that looked like Akira Toriyama, so...
Now,
Sandman,
Sandland goes through the program, gets the job here. Some even go on to work at other studios. And the company says that's okay.
We still believe it's worth it because we're contributing to the survival of the anime industry as a whole. We hope other studios will see the long-term benefit and will do the same to preserve anime culture for decades to come.
So yeah, that's like one of the reasons I bring this up is because more so than the localization, which is getting blasted from all angles by fans who don't like localizers and by studios that are now switching over to AI, the overwork is what is actually going to threaten the whole industry the most and is likely to result in this whole in a like a retraction or a collapse in the anime world. Now, honestly, what that would mean is a lot of people would probably just go back and watch older anime until everything recovered. Otherwise, it'll probably keep going on and on. Well, it looks like they're already taking measures to try and fix this stuff, but I don't know if it's going to be fast enough or if they're going to get around to actually being able to correct the problems that are eating them alive. Because, like I said, after a few years, a lot of people leave this industry permanently due to the negative effects it has on their health and due to the fact that they can no longer like physically keep doing the work.
It's great that some companies are providing training, but there's still the issue of low wages. Just how bad is it, John?
Well, it's
I keep forgetting about this
across the board,
because I'm an
especially
idiot.
for those starting
I
out.
gotta
Take a look at this graph right here. Now, a survey last year found most young animators were making just $12,000 a year. That's $1,000 a month.
That doesn't go a long way, especially in the big cities where the production studios used to be.
It sure doesn't. And salary.
$12,000 a year. Do you think you could live off of $12,000 a year? Like, that's fucking rough. Especially for, like, the descriptions that I've heard from the industry about how, like, these people would, like, go home and, like, grab a few toiletries and stuff and then go back to the office, and they'd basically be living out of the office and renting a like a apartment and all that just to keep their stuff. And they would spend like weeks or months at a time working out of the office trying to get the work done. And it is a very different work culture in Japan than it is here in the United States. I know there's some of that that's part of the issue. That doesn't change the fact, though, that it's very, very unhealthy.
Salaries like these have given the industry a bad reputation. The head of the Animator Association behind that survey, Janica, says it's putting the future of anime at risk.
Is that with the conversion rates? Yeah, they're saying $12,000. So if I had to take a guess at it, that would be like 120,000 yen. Probably more than that. But yeah, it's they're talking USD here when they're talking numbers.
We've heard some parents try to dissuade their kids from going into the industry. They convince them to choose other work. Creating compelling anime requires a lot of artists. This reputation and the reality of this industry have to change.
Given that the industry itself is doing very well, where is the money going?
Well, it goes to the groups investing in the anime. I spoke with Yasui Yosuke with the Japan Research Institute. He said it's because there's a huge power imbalance between the animation studios that make the animation and the groups that fund them.
There's a group formed by investors
Now, this is actually something I haven't heard about. This is very interesting to me.
consisting of publishers, distributors, advertisers, and even gaming companies. The investors pay for the anime to get made, but they retain all of the distribution and copyrights. So the studios don't benefit financially, and in turn, neither do the animators, even if it's a big hit overseas and makes a lot of money.
その恩恵っていうのが全然スタジオにですね、アニメ生産会社に降りていかないという構図になります。その恩恵っていうのが
pay for the anime to get made, but they retain all of the distribution and copyrights. So the studios don't benefit financially, and in turn, neither do the animators, even if it's a big hit overseas.
That's pretty fucked up. So this is one of the reasons, like, I do not, I understand why people don't feel guilty for piracy. And this is one of the like arguments. I've had this discussion with a lot of people in like anime servers and stuff like that about piracy and how it affects studios. The fact of the matter is that it doesn't actually affect the studios, from what he's saying. The studios are contracted to make the anime, while the publishing companies retain all the distribution rights and all that. So the studios are just going to make a set amount. And as a result, that means that like they don't really have any fucking opportunity to benefit off of like successful work. Which means that by pirating, you're not actually hurting the studio. You're hurting the publisher, the one who's holding all the power and who is paying the studio, who has already paid the studio by the time that you're watching the anime. I'm just saying, I'm not advocating for piracy. That is a crime. That is not something that I would tell you to go do. But the fact of the matter is that when people make the argument that you're hurting the animators or that this is going to, affect them, it's not true. But we've known that it's not true because Crunchyroll kind of blew the lid off of that one a while back when they decided that they were going to make High Guardian Spice with the money that they said was going to go to Japanese animators as a bonus. It didn't happen. Let's finish this video out.
And makes a lot of money.
その恩恵っていうのが全然スタジオにですね、アニメ生産会社に降りていかないという構図になります。
So it's a bit complicated, but basically the studios and investors can't negotiate prices on equal footing because those that fund the anime have so much leverage. Now, award-winning directors like Koreeda Hirokazu and Yamazaki Takashi have urged the government to review the profit flows.
So, is there any progress on that front?
Well, Japanese Prime Minister Kishida Fumio said in April that the Fair Trade Commission is investigating the working conditions of Japan's entertainment industry.
Pilgrim, that actually reminds me of a song. I think it's from like a kid's cartoon or something. I don't know why it's like stuck in my head now. It goes, yo ho, fiddle dee dee, being a pirate is all right to be. Something like that. Lazy Town. It's from Lazy Town. That's where it's from.
我が国のクリエイター個人の創造性が最大限発揮される環境を整備する必要があります。
Now, these moves are a good start, but a lot more needs to be done. Anime has an enormous influence overseas, and Japan is benefiting immensely from the soft power that it brings, including tourism and those who come here to live and study because of their love of the art form. Right now, anime is a $20 billion industry, but experts say it could grow to be 10 times that much if the government takes this issue seriously. I fear that unless it does, the industry will slowly deteriorate. So, Japan's actions within the next couple of years will tell whether anime survives or thrives.
So, yeah, to basically recap all of that in, like, I kind of made all my points as we were going through it, but pretty much it fucking sucks to be an animator in Japan. They don't get paid properly. Piracy doesn't actually affect the studios as much as a lot of the people who would, slam you for it would claim. And just the overall overwork, partially because of work culture and all that, is the biggest threat to the industry, more so than localizers, more so than people who want to censor it or any of that. It is an industry that is eating itself alive, pretty much. And not for the reasons that the Western industry, or Western entertainment industry, ate itself alive, but for reasons of, overwork, work culture. But fixing those things is going to be interesting. They did this whole video. They showcased people who were already taking steps to try and do that kind of stuff, which is nice to see. But again, I have to raise my questions as to how much is it actually going to do on such a small scale. Which, brings over to the second topic, the much, much, much more controversial topic. The one that kind of divides a lot of people. And that is a term that, this is probably one of, no, it's not that. It is the issue with the depiction of children in manga and anime. Japan might censor manga and anime with inappropriate depictions of children, including lolis and shotas. Which, if you don't know what those are, loli basically is a term for young girl, and shota for young boy. There's a lot of fucked up stuff that can fall under this stuff. And that's why I think this article was interesting. And I wanted to bring it up because there are some that I genuinely do understand why you would want to, get rid of. And I am not going to get into the whole lolicon thing. Maybe we'll get into it. I'll read the article. Anyway, in a move to curb child exploitation, Japanese politician Masako Okawara has submitted a petition in the 213th Diet Session calling for a stricter regulation on content, including manga and anime, that feature inappropriate depictions of characters resembling children. How do I close that out? I guess like that. This initiative comes amid growing concern for the overall rising number of cases of exploitative material involving minors in popular media and the inadequacies of current laws protecting them. Basically, the kind of thing that you would see from, say, Cuties on Netflix. And there's actually a pretty high-profile incident that this is all based off of, which is the Your Name producer Koichiro Ito was arrested for CP. And now there's an interesting situation there is Your Name. I've actually I love that movie. There's the most inappropriate thing about it is you have two teenagers, a guy and a girl, who will randomly swap bodies So the guy like wakes up in the chick's body and like immediately realizes he has boobs and starts playing with them. That's about as inappropriate as it gets. Now these are high schoolers, by the way. Anyway, in recent statistics have revealed that the number of arrests for bad material offenses has not improved despite revisions to the child. I don't want to say those words on YouTube. The don't do bad stuff to children law. Okawa's petition is urging the government to amend the current laws, including the Prevention Act, based on the 2019 recommendation from the UN Committee by criminalizing the production, distribution, provision, sale, access, viewing, and possession of images and depictions of children or persons who primarily appear to be children engaging in explicit sexual acts or depictions of sexual parts of a child's body for sexual purposes. So that's it's okay. So to explain this, basically the legal age at which you can get married, the age of consent in Japan, I believe, is 16. And the legal age you can get married at is 16 with the consent of guardians. I don't know how true that is. I don't actually know that off the top of my head, but it's not all that drastically different. And the reason for the younger characters is the most popular genre of anime is shonen, which is targeted at boys 15 to 18 years old. It is cartoons literally made for 15 to 18-year-olds. So a lot of the characters are going to be in the same age range because people find it more relatable. Yeah. Still, though, there is some stuff out there that just, I'll get into it in a bit. The current law does not regulate the images portraying sexual content in manga or anime, specifically including lolicon and shotacon. So lolicon, depictions of young-looking female characters, and shotacon, depictions of young-looking male characters. However, the petition particularly focuses on the aspect of imagery that is used to make characters appear as children, which might promote the government to take a look into it once more. The debate surrounding loli and shota characters is intense, with critics arguing that such depictions contribute to a harmful culture that normalizes the sexualization of minors. And I can kind of understand that because there is some creepy shit, but there's creepy shit everywhere. Supporters within the anime and manga industry argue that these characters are fictional and that the regulation would infringe on artistic freedom and expression. This was evident in 2014 when similar revisions to the law was proposed, but faced significant opposition from the industry, which claimed it would severely limit creative freedom. Despite the precedent, Japan might consider regulating content in anime and manga, owing to the alarming statistics surrounding the issue. Okawa's petition has garnered more than 300 signatures. As of 2022, 86% of victims were girls, with boys making up 14%, a trend that is on the rise. Even in cases where victims were identified, the number is the second highest since the pre-COVID era. When including cases determined, this is basically talking about why that needs to be done. So, yeah, that is the end of the article. I don't want to get into I do kind of want to get into it, but you genuinely already know. It's basically just the quote that all of this article is derived from. So, is there some stuff that I find questionable? Yeah. I personally would not ever want to touch a show like Gushing Over Magical Girls ever again. That one is just kind of weird to me. It made me uncomfortable trying to watch that show to see what everyone was talking about. I got through part of an episode. I actually have to remember how much of that I got through. Either way, I did not watch that whole thing. I want to forget that show ever happened, honestly. It made me really uncomfortable. But a lot of people will defend that kind of stuff. And I don't really know where it all falls. To me, personally, I would never want to make something like that. But at the same time, one of my favorite manga of all time does talk about some of that stuff. Berserk. Berserk has, like, part of Guts' backstory is his adopted father basically sold him to other mercenaries. It's fucked up. And they don't get ridiculously graphic with it, but what they do show is still fucked up. I still argue, though, that part of the story is, kind of important to the development of the character and understanding where his head's at and why he is the way he is. It's not done in a way that is meant to be pleasurable, though. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable. It's supposed to depicts it in a negative way, much the same way that the Eclipse depicts a lot of those acts in a very negative way. They're done by evil people who later on kind of get what they deserve. With Berserk, with this particular character who abuses Guts. Guts later takes an opportunity in the middle of a battle to kill the guy, to get back at him, and then later steals the money from his adopted father. So there's that. And what the issue is that one of the big things, the crux of the Lolicon Shotokan debate is the idea that you can have a character that looks like a child, but who is actually hundreds or thousands of years old. Yeah. But here's where we get into real hot water. Is generally when people start referring to Lolicon stuff, they're talking about a character who is actually an adult, okay? But they have the body of a child. They look very much like a child. I'm not talking Frieren, so I'm going to try and bring up some examples here. A lot of people try to refer to Frieren as Loli, which she's not. I will argue that she is absolutely nothing looking like she absolutely does not look like a child. She's just a small woman. Let me bring up my screen here. So these are the actual images of Frieren, the character that everyone referred to as an elf, or as a Loli, because she looks much younger than she actually is, because she's an elf. She's at least 1,000 years old, and she's relatively flat, small woman, especially in comparison to someone like Fern. Either way, that is not Loli. That's just a small woman. If you actually want, let's see here. Let's go with this. Oh, geez, I should have probably fucking checked. This character would actually qualify. But again, still an actual child. It's just she's not human, so she's much, much older. Either way, that's one of the first lines that gets obscured, is what actually qualifies as Loli. Is it just a small, petite woman, or is it actually a character with childish features and childish behavior? The second line is people will use the age as justification for the creepy shit that they like depicted. And I don't generally feel okay with that. Like, I stay away from that shit and I try to stay out of that debate because it's fucking toxic, just to say the least. And apparently all I can do is say that I don't personally like it, and I don't know enough about the terminology and everything that's going on in there to fully say whether it actually like fully qualifies as that kind of material or not. My issue with this is, where are they going to draw the line? Are they going to start drawing the line at stuff like Berserk? Or are they going to start drawing the line at stuff like ecchi anime? Or are they going to start drawing the line at like things that probably should be off limits? If you know what Boku no Pico is, I pray for your soul. That kind of stuff, I can genuinely see why people would be upset about it. That's just no. Yes, I agree. It is weird. It is something that I personally find a little disturbing. Something that I personally don't want to be a part of, and that's why I distance myself from that argument as much as possible. Because I don't want to be the one involved in it. My personal, my gut feeling is, okay, I don't want to see this. I don't want to be a part of this community. So I just stay out of it. It's weird. It does seem like an excuse. That is kind of how I feel about it. But hey, I'm not a fan of it. I am not a fan of it. But a lot of the lines get blurred. A lot of people will use it as like a cudgel for any woman who is, small, like Freerin. And try to well, you like children because you like Freerin. No. And Freerin's never depicted in a sexual way anyway. Never once. In all 28 episodes of that anime, never once. But you like for certain stories, when you're telling something that's like dark or messed up. So Oshinoko has some of that material, and it kind of explains why certain characters are the way they are. Like a child being abused explains one of the major characters in that story. Berserk has some of that, and it explains why Guts is the way he is. And I argue that those scenes are depicted in a way. I don't argue. It's just an objective fact. Those scenes are depicted in a way where that material is a negative thing. It's not depicted for your pleasure. It's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. It's supposed to make you realize that it's a fucked up thing that happened. It's never given any sort of positive light. I think the big issue is where it makes it a positive thing. And I would 100% be fine with drawing the line at that. When you start positively depicting that kind of material. But we all know how government is. We all know how laws work and how people will constantly stretch the boundary to make it more than what it is. So I am skeptical of the idea of the government getting involved in this. But I'm not Japanese. I can't really do anything about it. It's a Japanese law that they're going to pass. I just wanted to cover it because that's another thing that may end up, affecting the anime industry. Also, Hello, Hero Darky Dark. Nice to see you. It's just another thing that it's not going to be as big as the overwork problem that we've already discussed tonight, but it definitely will be an issue down the line if they allow this to continue to restrict things. That's my big complaint about it. That's my big point I would raise about it is can it be used to limit people's or to properly or to illegitimately, I should say, limit people's freedom of expression to do stuff like Berserk or to do stuff like Oshinoko? Or will it just be used to actually prevent people like the producer from Your Name from getting his hands on CP and doing illegal stuff? If the latter, I'm for it. If the former, I'm against it. It's as simple as that. Either way, it's sometimes I understand why the anime community gets a bad rap, because we embroil ourselves in some of the most insane little controversies. But I think, oh, hey JM, how you doing? We're actually just about to wrap up here because I've kind of covered all the big topics for the night. I do, though, have some memes and shit I want to go over just for some laughs to sort of end on a more positive note instead of talking about overwork and about child protection laws. So we're going to go into the memes folder. And we're going to have some laughs before we go. So where is it? There's my memes folder. This one from Farming Life in Another World. How are we producing so much milk on this farm without any cows? It's a secret. Shit like that, or shit posts like this. I don't want to. This scene from Nichijou is fucking amazing, by the way. This dude fucking suplexing a deer. I don't want to know that one. Oh, the fucking. So this was a thing that happened. The Failure Skill Nutmaster is apparently a title of an upcoming anime adaptation. And now what it's supposed to be about is a guy who finds his magic fruits or whatever, and they give him special abilities and all that. But I was told that Failure Skill Nutmaster, if you think about that, sounds like you spent one too many nights. Apparently, Nutmaster was supposed to be translated Dustmaster. That was a thing. Some dude drawing Freerin with a shotgun because they can. Tite Kubo confirming that Rangiku holds her boobs inside her robes using spirit pressure. That was an actual thing. Someone edited Hugh Jackman to look like Vegeta. John Douglas. Guy's interesting. Really like his work. Oh, and then there is Harry Potter if it was American. Well, I think it's the last one I gotta get. Honestly, wishing that my co-host would show up, but not a I love fucking shit like that. Oh yeah, there was this one. I forgot about this one. What would get better animation? The most anticipated fight between the most popular characters of a very popular anime, or an incest hentai? And spoiler alert, it was the incest hentai. But yeah, I needed to cleanse my mind of all of the frustration of the anime industry, of laws and all that stuff. There were important news articles that I did want to cover, that I did want to talk about. Unfortunately, I've been alone all night, so I did get to corn cells, yes. But I did get to, talking about Kapoki's Black Noblesse, and I did get to doing my, live review. I'm going to do a full video, proper video review of that. Really? I mean, I don't know, but I'd believe it. I mean, look, I will say that of all of Overwatch's legacy, it's BioShock. BioShock's legacy is that the Rule 34 material that it produced revolutionized animation. That's an actual fucking thing. Anyway, I did get to cover some of the indie stuff. I did get to talk about like anime and stuff. I wish Rolo would have showed up so that we could actually like properly talk anime and all of that. But I don't know. This is about it. I've been going for 2 hours on my own talking about this stuff. And I'm tired. I'm tired, boss. So what I will probably go do is close this out. Get rid of some of the topics that I covered for the night. And veg out. So thanks to everyone who showed up. I really do appreciate all of you tuning in. To anyone who's watching at any point, it's been fun. I do like just, kind of relaxing, doing this kind of stuff, having fun, talking about the things I actually care about, talking about things I like. Probably go read some of these Batman trades that I've got now. I've got 3 of them that I got to go read. I got Dark Victory, Under the Red Hood, and Hush. So yeah, I'll probably go take care of that with the rest of my weekend. But it's been fun. I enjoyed it. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. You can find me here on YouTube at Crimson Law. My archive channel for all my streams is Crimson Chaos. And you can find me on Twitter at Isaac Hendren. I'm hopefully going to be doing some more indie stuff. I might be starting a second channel just to keep the indie stuff separate from the anime stuff, because the indie stuff doesn't perform very well and it actually kind of hurts my channel. But that being said, I do need to end the stream now, so we are going to go find a clip to end this with. What should we... Where is it? It's got to be in here somewhere.
Basically, if you don't have a penis, don't hit on me.